Welcome to Pyramid One World Radio Network. You can call in and talk to our hosts by dialing 605472576, then dial the access code 60860 # and you're ready to be part of a worldwide movement to educate everyone listening to these shows. Let's begin dialing.
This is a Pyramid One International Network presentation. Hi, and welcome to Pyramid One World Radio. Let me tell you about the host. Dr. Randall George Nozawa is living proof that a person can do everything right, only to suffer horrific events that ended decades of hard work and left him blind. The two most gruesome tragedies he suffered would make most people feel his pain, but not Nozawa. He's grateful just to be alive. Dr. Nozawa had played high school football in Honolulu and later became a professional bodybuilder. When he moved to Washington, the muscle-bound Nozawa enrolled at the University of Washington's dental school, studied hard, and faithfully graduated. Yet years later, after opening a handful of dental clinics, when he could finally afford the lifestyle he always wanted, a tree came crashing down and foiled all his best laid plans. We may call it tragedy. The doctor calls it adversity. Dr. Nozawa said, "Misfortune is just disguised as an opportunity." The first opportunity, as Nozawa calls it, was a near-fatal car wreck on his daughter's birthday in 2003. While driving his luxury car to her party, he was run off the road. A tree pierced the windshield, and the branch punctured his skull, destroying one eye, damaging the other. But that's how Nozawa met an older couple that would introduce him to his second life-altering opportunity. Caught in the middle of the couple's domestic violence incident one fateful night, his neighbor first shot his wife, dead, then shot Nozawa in the head from 12 inches away before finally shooting and killing himself. Now you may say to yourself, ouch. Nozawa said, the crime shocked the community of Gig Harbor, where it occurred, and received its due amount of attention in the area newspapers. However, during his prolonged stay in the hospital, and as he took a year to learn to walk again, his wife, Deborah Nozawa, hired temporary dentists to keep the clinics open. Yet, when the businesses performed poorly under the temporary staff's care, family finances plummeted. And with all of his medical bills, you would think that would be the end of the story, but it's not. Regarding his home life, Nozawa is just grateful that his family has stuck by him. The doctor says, my wife Deborah had to do a lot after I was in the car wreck, and again after getting shot. He said, we went from awfully rich to rock bottom penniless and almost homeless. But these days, Nozawa has global plans for his businesses. Transformational Kaizen Institute for Personal Freedom. Indeed, he works by phone and offers advisement over the internet to clients from all over the world and advises businesses in employee development and retention, in meeting long-term goals, and in growth. Plus, now he also has a world-class radio show bi-monthly where you, yes, you, the public, can call into the show, dial the number, and talk to the doctor right here on Pyramid One World Radio Network. Dr. Nozawa says, dreams do really come true, but you have to believe it before you can see it, he said. He has made his own dreams come true by helping others pursue their life aspirations in his free 14-page book, Precipice of Potential, which can be downloaded at his website, www.drrandallgeorge.com. Dr. Nozawa's radio show is here to teach and inform the world of things that we who have sight can't see until the doctor tells you what to look for. There are many things in our life that can be changed. Tonight, allow the doctor to help you, to help yourself and others find yours and their paths on your journey of life. May I present to you, the listeners, and to the world, Dr. Randall George Nozawa. There he is.
Oh, yeah. Wow. What awesome month here. Awesome new year. And wow, we have an awesome show. I've been trying to get a hold of this one guest for over a year, and somehow you make a phone call and you got her on. Well,
okay.
oh, you know, I don't have any clout, but you know, that'll change one day. But Pyramid One, and all of you out there to these 138 countries, our guest today is so darn very special. And, you know, I've wanted to get a hold of her for this past year, but I've kept up with what she's been doing all this time. And, you know, what we're talking about, you know, a human being, a mom. And things transpired in her life, and which led her to create this national and now global organization called Moms Across America. And because of this one person and the energy that she brought and her intention to make sure children are okay and healthy and living well and can have the kind of future that they want, this creation called Moms Across America was born. And so first time we get to meet, but everyone, this is Zen Honeycutt. And like I said, I've wanted to meet her for a very long time. And Zen, welcome. And could you please start at this beginning part of maybe a little bit of background on you, a bio sketch of how and where you grew up, you know, you getting married and having your wonderful kids, and
Sure.
what caused you to create something called Moms Across America?
Oh, well, first of all, it's an honor. I was told I should call you Dr. Randall, but Dr. Nozawa, it's wonderful to be on your show. I'm sorry it took so long for us to connect. And I appreciate your patience and your commitment and your willingness to get, you know, what my message and my organization's message out to the world. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And considering everything you've been through, you know, it's amazing to be able to connect and to be able to continue to support people in the world to be empowered. So thank you for your partnership in that.
No, that's fine. No, thank you so much. And like I said, it's and you know, Bob and I talk about this all the time. It's you know, without those couple unexpected things that happened in my life, we would probably have never met. And I, you know, and I would be involved in my dental things and all that, and I would never know what the heck Moms Across America was ever.
Right.
And you know, so what an opportunity this is for me. And like I said, there's always something, an opportunity or you know, a benefit disguised in something, the misfortune. There has to be, and then that's what I found. And I have my own show, and it's you know, it's a global show, and I get to meet you.
Yes.
And so, you know, I'm so fortunate with that. And on this show, we introduce, leaders to our community and what's really going on, because it's the kind of leadership that you show, that you provide along with your colleagues, your husband included, of the good things that can be done when people care. So can you give us a little bit of a background on
Yes,
you,
yes.
and then up to the the family life, and what made you allowed you or motivated you to create Moms Across America?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was fortunate to grow up in Connecticut in a very small town. My father was French American, sort of a bootstrapping, they call him Swamp Yankee, mixture of French American and English, Irish, and Scottish. And my mom was the only Chinese person for probably 100 miles around. They met in New York City. She was a Pan Am stewardess, and he was an actor and also a ticket agent. And so they met in New York City, and got married and had children in Connecticut, in a very small town with a pond and lots of nature around, and it was beautiful. And I went to private boarding school there. I got a scholarship. Doing well in school was very important to me. I always had, pretty big aspirations to be able to travel and make a difference in the world. And I ended up going, also getting a scholarship to Parsons School of Design in New York City. And I studied art for 4 years and got a bachelor's degree in fine arts there, and was just thrilled to live in New York. And I met my husband in New York swing dancing at Lincoln Center, and we moved to California. So we did the opposite of my mom. My mom was born and raised in California, in San Francisco area, and moved to New York, met my father, and moved to Connecticut. I grew up in Connecticut, moved to New York, met my husband, and moved to California. So I'm very grateful that they were patient with me about that and moving so far away from the family. So I've lived out in California for 20 years now, and I never thought I would be an activist. I thought at one point that I would speak up for people. I had, my maiden name is Labossiere, and I was called Laboss. Like I was kind of bossy as a young woman. I knew what I wanted. I could see, like problems being solved in certain ways. Like I just think very, in a way where I can come up with a solution pretty quickly, I think, usually. And so I was took on leadership roles fairly young, like in high school and things like that. So I knew I would speak up for people, but I didn't know that I would be an actual activist. And how that came around was, I was running my own business for a while when I had small children. I had learned about toxins in the environment, like endocrine disruptors and things like that. And I started my own private label company called Zen's Purple Garden. And I sold natural wellness products like lavender and all that. And I used my pattern making and sewing skills from my fashion design days when I did fashion design for 7 years to segue into natural wellness. And I made baby blankets and heating hearts and lavender products and all that. And I did that for 7 years. And I was very disturbed about the toxins in the environment. What I learned is that the fish off the coast of Malibu were turning into hermaphrodites. 50% of the male fish had female organs. And this was, close to 20 years ago. This is, maybe 15 years ago. And I was very disturbed about the toxins getting to the environment. That was my first introduction of really learning about that. So I made a product line that didn't have parabens and endocrine disruptors in them. But once I did that for about 7 years, I didn't want to pay tons of money to get insurance and to get into stores. It was too much. And I had 3 young children. So I closed that business and then really started paying attention to my kids' allergies. And within 6 months, I started Moms Across America, primarily because I wanted people to know about genetically modified organisms and glyphosate, the toxins in the food supply. Because within that 6 months of closing Zen's Purple Garden, I really dove into the food supply. I watched Genetic Roulette by Jeffrey M. Smith, and watched Patriotism on a Plate by Robin O'Brien, and started reading books about GMOs, and really thought that the American public had the right to know that genetically modified organisms were in our food, that our food had changed, and that there were pesticides in our food that should not be there, and it was not labeled. And so asked myself, how could I raise awareness with as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time? And I thought of joining into 4th of July parades. And so that's how Moms Across America started off. Suddenly went from a reach of zero in February of 2013 to over 300,000 a week in the end of June that same year. So within 4 months, and we had 179 people join into 4th of July parades that in groups, in 37 states. So we reached thousands locally and millions nationally in a single day. And since then, we've had about 600 leaders create over 1,000 events in all 50 states and counting. So, it's now, as you said, expanded to mothers across the world. And I just came back from, well, not just, but in December, I did a 9-city speaking book tour in Japan with my book Unstoppable, was put out there in Japanese. And I've been to probably 7 or 8 other countries speaking. And it's just been amazing to be able to connect and reach people around the world about our food supply. So I appreciate you having me on and all the listeners from different countries sharing this information that we're going to talk about today.
Just so that everybody knows that the book itself, Unstoppable, which I've played with a little bit myself, transforming sickness and struggle into triumph, empowerment, and a celebration of community. That wraps up everything you just said.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, thank you.
It really does. So many times, and I've been doing this on and off and that on the show for years. We're going to be 10 and that here in June. So for an internet international channel, 10 years I must be ancient, because they don't stick around longer than a year. They can't take it. Yeah. But GMO, when that first started, that was one of the biggest things. I had guests from all over the country on here, and they all were saying you can't do that. But in all those years, they still don't put labels on the dang cans.
No, they don't.
Or bottles or whatever. What is the problem? Okay, if you don't want to eat it, don't.
Yeah.
They think
they don't want us to know because they think that we won't want to eat it. When they're correct, if it's GMO, most people don't wake up in the morning saying, "Gee, I'd love to have some GMOs." So they don't want to lose money, and profit sharing and all of that. So we now, the only way that we can know if it's GMO is if it's either organic or non-GMO project verified, or both, right? Because non-GMO project verified test for GMOs, and less than 0.9% has to be, it's allowable, up to 0.9% of GMOs are allowed in non-GMO project verified. So it's less than 1%. And organic does not allow GMOs, but they don't test for them. So together, non-GMO project verified and organic are, a better option. And we at Moms Across America didn't like that there was still some contamination going on of organic, of glyphosate, because organic
Roundup
doesn't test for glyphosate, and glyphosate's the most predominantly used herbicide around the world, and it's what's in Roundup. And so that's been contaminating our food supply. And so with Moms Across America, we took matters into our own hands and created the Moms Across America Gold Standard. And you can find out more information about that on our website. But it is an all-encompassing gold standard, which includes, no junk food, no junk ingredients, like carrageenan and red food dye. It has to be organic, and it has to be glyphosate tested for the first tier of 3 stars. For 4 stars, it needs to be non-GMO project verified, heavy metal testing, additional pesticide testing, and if there's animal products, it needs to be humanely raised. And for 5 stars, there needs to be fair trade, fair labor going on, right? Support of regenerative or biodynamic agriculture, because that's what's going to sequester carbon and reduce climate change. And also the packaging needs to be earth friendly. We need to have a recyclable recycling program, or it needs to be made out of recycled material or glass or steel. So this is a standard that really exceeds all other standards. It's very high, level, high expectations, because we moms feel that, what's being done to our planet is destroying our children's future. And so we want to celebrate the companies that do the right thing and actually, create food and products that are good for our families and good for the planet. So we've had issues with the certifications out there, but we also want to celebrate the companies that do get those certifications that are, important and meaningful. And so that's how we're taking that on.
Have you guys done any work or research net with the water?
Yes, I have done a lot of research, and my son is actually on deuterium depleted water right now, because he has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and we've it's a connective tissue disorder, and we hope that the mitochondrial function will improve on deuterium depleted water. That's sort of a newish type concept that's been out. It's called light water, and we are, looking into being able to have that for the whole family eventually. It is quite expensive, so we're using it just for him right now. But we're very concerned about the water. And we also have on our website under our health solutions an AquaTrue water filter, which is reverse osmosis and gets glyphosate out. And it's above counter water filter, and that's important because the below counter ones can harbor microbes and bacteria, and you can't wash them out. So we recommend above ground, and this is the only one that Erin Brockovich recommends. So you can go in our health solution store, and we have an affiliate program with them, and that supports our programs too. So we appreciate if you purchase the AquaTrue filter through us.
We've also talked about the cross. In other words, Roundup is, for instance, used on a farm.
Yes.
So use gallons, many, many gallons of this stuff. That goes through or into the soil.
Yes.
Then somebody waters it, it rains, it floods, whatever happens. All that stuff goes down through the dirt into the aquifer. Then the same aquifer that everybody's getting water out of from the wells is now pumped back up to water an organic farm that can be a mile away.
Yes.
Now, and this is something the doctor and I agree on this, if it was just outlawed like the rest of the world, we wouldn't have that problem.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've been fighting for 7 years now to have glyphosate banned, to have the license revoked. And we're still waiting for the EPA to review the license of glyphosate. They came out with a statement, coincidentally enough, the same week that Hugh Grant, who is the former CEO of Monsanto, was supposed to take the stand in St. Louis. This was maybe a month or two ago. He was supposed to take the stand. And that same week, the EPA came out with a statement saying that glyphosate is not carcinogenic. Unlike, I believe 67 studies that the International Agency for Research on Cancer found did cause cancer. And so our EPA is bought. They are being manipulated by the corporations, and they are putting out statements to benefit the corporations' profits, not to protect the American people. And, we're just furious that they're squandering their obligation to protect the American people in this way. And we will continue to call on our regulatory agencies and our government to do the right thing. However, we are really focusing on the power of the people and our consumer purchasing power, and encouraging people to purchase organic, and, hopefully have many companies come on board with the Moms Across America Gold Standard, so that we can really know that food is safe and it is what it says it is, and, continue to support the companies that are going the extra mile and doing the right thing.
Yeah, well, they call some of the things that I've said conspiracies.
Yeah, well, because they don't agree with it, most likely. It impacts their profits.
Exactly. I wrote back to them and I said, "What's the matter? You can't take the truth?"
Yeah.
It's not a conspiracy. It's somebody saying the truth. I mean, not only that, but there's research out that you can get off the internet if you go deep enough, and you can find it proves that this is bad. I mean, let's face it. Would you go up to somebody and say, would you drink or would you eat a plant or a vegetable that I watered with my antifreeze out of my car? And they'll turn around and the first thing they're going to say to you is, are you crazy? I'd never eat that. Well, you are every time you buy something that's GMO.
Yeah, well, there's chemicals on them, that have been shown to be carcinogenic, endocrine disrupting, and cause all types of organ damage. And the problem is we can't see it, and it's not labeled, and that's because the FDA was convinced by the food companies to classify GMOs and pesticides, and herbicides as a process, not an additive. If they were classified as an additive to the food supply, they would have to be labeled and safety tested. And that's how they got around that. They said, oh no, it's just a process. It's just something that's done to them while they're growing. Even though you can test food and find GMOs in them, right? They've been added, or pesticides, you can test and find that they've been added to the food. So that was a major loophole that was accomplished, by the food industry people decades ago. And so they've been able to get away with it for over 20 years.
Agent Orange was the same stuff.
Yes. So that some of the ingredients in Agent Orange are also in the pesticides that are sprayed on our food supply. Yeah. It's not in glyphosate, but it is some of the pesticides that are in our food supply.
Exactly.
Which have been known to cause birth defects. So it's a known thing. They've known for 30 or 40 years about these chemicals and continue to promote them to be sprayed on our food supply.
Yeah, the worst thing is that the veterans can sue for the orange, but they can't do anything about, or we can't do anything about, the food that we're eating.
Well, we're having a tough time with having lawsuits around the food that we're eating and connecting that with the cancer and the health effects, because, there's so many factors that we introduce into our body. Human beings smoke, we breathe jet fuel, we're exposed to, EMFs and chemicals in our pajamas, flame retardants. There's so many different factors. There's no way to pinpoint that one bite of food actually caused that cancer. But there are people suing about the use of glyphosate herbicides, which are Roundup, Rodeo, Ranger Pro, in their parks and streets and sidewalks. And that's happening. And a pesticide applicator for a school named Dwayne Lee Johnson won a verdict of $289 million. He was the first one, sued Monsanto and won. It was reduced to $80 million. But since then, there's been 3 or 4 other plaintiffs that have won collectively over $2 billion. And so they are suing Monsanto, and now there's actually plaintiffs suing Bayer for not, a stockholder actually is suing Bayer for not protecting the stockholders' interests and doing their due diligence before they purchase Monsanto, because their stock has already dropped the same exact purchase price in which they purchased Monsanto for, which I believe was around $63 billion.
Right.
So they've already lost a huge amount of shareholder profits, and they're not happy. Their last shareholder meeting lasted 12 hours in Germany last year. And there's another one coming up again soon. I wish I could go, but I'm really not that interested in traveling right now. So
No.
Yeah.
But here's another one for you. And, all the moms can really help with this a little bit. If you walk into any Home Depot or Lowe's, anywhere in the United States, the first thing you're going to come to when you hit the garden department is Roundup.
Yes.
And I mean, not a little bit of it. I mean, tons of the stuff. I mean, I walked into somebody and I said, how can you sell this when we just this really happened. There was an article or a thing during our news down here in Florida about the suit in California against Roundup. And they said, well, that's what they told us to sell. And I said, you see that? That is the whole key. Somebody tells you to do something and you don't resist. You just turn around and say, okay, I'll sell it. And that's what's happening around it.
Headquarters at Home Depot is entertaining the idea of selling a different product or not selling it. But I was having a dialogue with them, with some of the head buyers at Home Depot and Lowe's for a while. We did successfully have Costco remove Roundup from their shelves. So Costco no longer sells Roundup. I'm thrilled about that. We had 89,000 people petition all 3 stores, and Costco was the one to remove Roundup from their shelves. But Home Depot and Lowe's are still selling it, and we dropped off communication with Home Depot and Lowe's. They won't call me back now, I think because somebody sued the stores, and they're probably being advised not to talk to consumers, about their sales of Roundup. So we're hoping that they will, turn this around and take Roundup off their shelves. There's been a lawsuit in Florida, as you mentioned. A woman sued not only her county for, asking for, for demanding that the glyphosate herbicides be used in the pond nearby her. It might have been Lake Okeechobee, but somewhere around there in Florida. But also she sued the retailers that sold it. And so that lawsuit is still pending, and people are mad that, this product is being sold has been sold for decades with no labeling on it, warning that it could cause cancer. And clearly the EPA and Monsanto knew that it could cause cancer back since, I believe it was 1985. They've known this for a very long time.
Yep.
So that's
exactly.
If somebody wants to call that a conspiracy, then they can go ahead. But that is a conspiracy against our health and in favor of corporate profits. And that no longer can be how we run our country. We simply won't survive. Too many of us will be sick.
What gets me crazy is so many people down here in Florida. These are all over 55 communities. So you got a lot of people, a lot of retired people down here. I mean, hundreds and thousands of them down here. And you get these. This is just what I got from Home Depot. I was going out to get fertilizer, believe it or not. But I was in Home Depot, and this old lady is buying this spray bottle. The ones that you pump and you put the stuff inside of it. And they go, okay, she's buying that, and a big, big, big thing of Roundup. And I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, this old lady ain't going to make it, man, because when you put that stuff into a spray, it's an aerosol. You breathe it in. Now what are you doing? You're inviting cancer into your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is not just the first person I ever saw do this. It just so happened this old lady was so cute when she was doing it. I mean, she was buying a thing like you would go and buy a dress. You look at one dress and you look at another dress. Well, this is what she's doing with the sprayers. Like, oh, gee, which one am I going to kill myself with the best? I mean, it was comical in a way, but I'm sorry that this is happening.
Well, they don't know, and people don't know until they do, right? They trust the TV commercials that say that it's safe and it's going to kill the weeds and it's going to be effective. And reps have been telling people for decades that it's as safe as table salt. So, they have been lying to the American public. People have been believing them. The farmers have believed them. They're not dumb. They're not sheep. They don't have their head stuck in the sand. They just were not informed. They just did not know. I didn't know. My father wanted me to pull weeds out of the pond when I was about 12 years old in Connecticut, because we were having guests come and we wanted to swim in a, area that didn't have tons of weeds in it. And I told him, no, just put Roundup in there. I had seen commercials. I thought it was safe. And, he said, no, it'll kill the frogs. And I thought he was being a stubborn old goat. I thought he just using me for slave labor, wanted to put me to work. And so, we didn't do that, obviously. He did not put Roundup in the pond. I had to get out there and pull the weeds. But I believed what was being told to me just like anybody else. And I was not a stupid person. I just didn't know. I didn't look into it any further, myself. And of course, 30-something years later, I'm dedicated my life to getting rid of Roundup. So, we're still working on it, but we are making a lot of progress. There are over 34 countries that have banned or severely restricted the use of Roundup. There are over 200 and something entities. I lost count after 220 something of either homeowners associations, towns, counties, cities, across the United States that have banned or restricted the use of glyphosate. So we are making a lot of progress, and this is with not just Moms Across America, but other organizations like Beyond Pesticides and Non-Toxic Communities that are educating. Also, Herbicide-Free Campus is also working on it in colleges. So there's a lot of groups that are working very hard on this, and all it takes is one person saying, you know what, I'm going to get my homeowners association to stop spraying this stuff. I'm going to get them some organic alternatives. I'm going to give them the flyer on momsacrossamerica.org under action. We have a toxin-free town page, and we have a flyer that says 10 alternatives to Roundup. It was put together by the law firm Baum, Headlam, Aresti, and Goldman, and I added in the photos. And that flyer has been downloaded over 100,000 times. So people are using that flyer and getting it out there to their cities and their city council members. And they're saying, hey, look, here's alternatives. You don't have to use that stuff. Here are 10 alternatives to Roundup. And that's what we need to do. And so you may not see yourself as an activist, but we need to get active in our communities and say, this is my town. This is my homeowners association. This is my county. This is my state. I want it to be safe. I want to be safe. I want to live a long time. I want to enjoy life. I don't want to be in and out of the hospital, and the only way that we're going to achieve that is if people like you and me say, I'm going to do something about this.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the moment that I had when I started Moms Across America. And I don't expect everybody to be, a director of a nonprofit with no previous experience. But I do ask that everybody do one thing a day to take action and create a safe and healthy future with health and freedom for all. And so we continue to support people, not just mothers and others, with actions and solutions to create healthy communities together. We educate and empower people. So we'll continue to do that. And you can find lots of information on our website on how to get started and take action.
Yeah, one other question, actually, because the doc is ready to jump out of his seat. I can see him. Do you have groups in every state?
So we have 600 leaders, and some from every state, maybe not a lot from the Midwest, in the Midwestern states, but we do have people in North Dakota, South Dakota. We've got people in every state that are working on this. They haven't necessarily formed chapters or groups yet. We are working on creating a structure for, I would, rather than chapters, I'd like to call them cooperatives, so that they're working together with other groups.
Yep.
And we are in talks with other groups to do that. We have sister organizations like the Holistic Moms Network, and we work very closely with Children's Health Defense, headed up by Robert Kennedy Jr., who's one of our advisors.
Yep.
And we are working on that. And we would like to have, if you are interested in being a leader for a cooperative, we would love to talk to you about that. And we would love for you to get started by getting active on this 5G issue, if I can touch upon that real quickly.
That was one of the things. Yeah, oh boy. 5G is a type of EMF radiation, and the World Health Organization's International Agent for Research on Cancer has designated this type of EMF as a Class 2B carcinogen.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
and 5G doesn't just ride, it's not just 5G, it's not just a new technology, it's actually an old technology, and it rides on 4G, which is comprised of 2G and 3G. And the National Toxicology Program actually did a study, a $25 million study funded by taxpayer dollars, and found that 2 and 3G do cause cancer in rats. And it's at the levels, they put the levels of exposure to the highest level that the FCC allows, right? Because they have to say, hey, if the FCC allows this amount of microwave radiation, let's see what happens to the animals when they're exposed to that high level. Then the Ramazzini study was done from Italy, and that's a very well-respected lab, and they did it on the levels that we're exposed to when we walk down the street and there's a cell tower, right? So street level exposure, and they confirmed the National Toxicology Program studies. So cancer still can be caused at levels that we are exposed to in everyday life. And it's not just cancer, it's infertility, it's headaches, fatigue, it weakens the immune system. Mm-hmm. It opens us up to, more susceptible, makes us more susceptible to illnesses like the coronavirus that we're facing right now today, and has us be more susceptible to the severe effects and even death. And it should be known that in Wuhan, they had installed before, back last in the fall, before all of this, 10,000 small cell wireless facility units. That's 4/5G. Mm-hmm. So their city is blanketed with 4/5G. And it is most likely, from all the studies that have been out there, there's over 10,000 studies now, it's weakening the immune system.
Right.
So it's making the people in that city and in other cities around the world more susceptible to the coronavirus. And this is, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying it's causing the coronavirus. I'm saying that there are studies that show that EMFs weaken the immune system and make us more susceptible to the harmful effects of any type of virus, right? So
it's also genotoxic.
Yes.
In other words, what they mean is it can actually destroy your DNA.
Yes, and glyphosate does the same thing, by the way. So we're getting a double whammy. We're consuming it in our food, and we're being radiated by it with our cell phones and cell towers, our printers, our laptops, our smart TVs. I recently got a Safe and Sound Pro 2 meter donated to me by a supporter, and I still need to make videos about this. I'm going to do that. But what's coming out of our phones and these cell towers when we drive around the city is like 2.5 million microwatts of, and over 10 is considered harmful. 1,000 is considered extreme. And what's coming out of our cell phones, 2.5 million microwatts. It is really a very large amount of microwave radiation that we're being exposed to. And I'm very, very concerned about the health effects. It is an urgent situation. These poles or small cell utilities are like the units, facilities are being put on lampposts in cities all across the country right now. They're up in Seattle, they're in LA, they're in San Francisco. They're trying to install them right now in my city. We have them on a bit of a delay, but the city next door just gave approval for them to be installed 20 feet outside of people's homes.
Oh.
And yeah, and there's a woman in San Francisco who actually happens to be the daughter of one of the men who helped invent the microwave radiation chip. Her name's Cheryl, and she found out a pole was going to be put 12 feet outside of her bedroom. And she went to the city council and said, please do not do this. And she brought them reams of studies, right? She had all the science available to her. They ignored her. They put the pole up. And now she has, it's been several months. I don't know if it's 6 or 7 months, but it's been several months. Now she has a fast growing tumor in her brain. She's in the hospital and she has to get it taken out. And when she comes home, she's very concerned that she will have trouble healing because this thing is still on. Never mind the fact that it probably caused it. We can't say that it caused it, but it may have caused the brain tumor. There have been studies to show that this radiation can cause brain tumors. So she is now being subjected to this, when she comes home, she'll be subjected to this microwave radiation and will probably have a very difficult time healing unless they turn that pole off. So there are a lot of people now that are calling the San Francisco City Council, asking them to turn that small cell unit off and all the small cell units in the entire city. I don't know how many of them, but there's a lot of them in San Francisco. And what they're doing is weakening the immune system, so that population is going to be more susceptible to the coronavirus. And this is an urgent situation that we're facing here.
Yep. And they also have a lot of people right now that have smart meters on the outside of their wall, outside of their bedroom.
No.
Yes.
That's just as bad. The EMF for that'll kill you.
Yeah, it's a lot of radiation.
Yeah, we had in one of the houses that we were at, and for some reason we had a tough time sleeping. It was bothering our sleeping. So what I did was they have a kit that you can actually put around the meter, and it grounds the meter to the ground. So the EMF doesn't go out and blast you. It goes straight down into the ground. And do you know what? The week after that, we had the best sleep ever.
Yeah.
So it was the meter.
Yes, I still have a smart meter. It's on the other side of the house because we have solar. So my husband has bought the grounding kit for that, but we turned off our Wi-Fi. We actually hardwired our laptop and our cell phone. I'm talking to you. Everything's hardwired now. My phone is on Ethernet. Laptop, and it's a little bit more inconvenient because I can't just walk around the house, watching a video anymore. But I also know now that I don't want 2.5, million microwatts of this microwave radiation shooting at me all day. So we're hardwired. And since then, I've been going to sleep between 10 and 11 at night and waking up between 6 and 6:30 in the morning. And I've been doing a podcast called Unstoppable with Zen Honeycutt. And, I've been getting much better sleep, much better. Okay. So, I really encourage you to hardwire your laptops and your phones.
Well, Doctor, I know you're sitting there ready to jump up and down. I'm sorry I took some space in that, but I'm telling you, Zen, you and your leaders, and we got to get everybody coming through here so we can get these things out. Because, you're talking about the same thing that we have been talking about, and you're just an expansion of what we've been talking about.
Oh, yeah, this past year,
Yeah. Well, we want to take action.
I'm so glad you're on. It's no, I wish this was a 5-hour show because I get to learn from both of you.
Only get an hour.
But Zen, what you bring with you and Moms Across America and all your colleagues and all your affiliate type of companies that work with you is that you show that there's power in the people, because governments will not work with you. And as Bob and I know, and I'll just call it the way it is, the FDA, CDC, EPA, USDA, NIH, they're all corrupt. They've all been bought up. And this is a WHO also. They're all corrupt, and they've all been paid off. And so it's because of like a Pyramid One and Bob Charles, and I have my show here too, thanks to him, and people like you that bring truth to the public. Because what we're talking about is, when statistically, 70s and 80s, you can't find a doctor that could even see any examples of autism. That's 1 in 15,000, maybe. Now it's 1 in 36. And so where does this happen? And no one looks close enough, because just the medical establishment, one, they've been bought off by the pharmaceutical industry, but they've been taught to treat symptoms only. And so what you bring with Moms Across America and this education platform is that you teach people what's going on in their lives. You teach them how to be their own best doctor. You teach them how to take personal responsibility over their lives and their children, because you've got these beautiful kids, and now what are we told? That we might outlive our kids. That's disgusting. That's gross. And the fertility rate across the world is going down. In the United States is one of them. All that cancer rates going up, heart problems are going up, diabetes is going up, MS is going up, and and the Western model is to treat everything with medication, treat the symptoms. Well, it doesn't work. We have to find root causes, and with your platform here, with Moms Across America and this educational, type of it's a needed deluge that we need, is that you give people out there what they need to know. And a lot of this stuff is not taught in medical school. It's not.
Right.
And see, and the authorities out there will say, "Oh, don't listen to someone named Zen Honeycutt. She ain't a doctor. I am. And take this. And if this doesn't work, I'll give you something on Monday. And I'll give you something else." And then glyphosate. There's nothing wrong with that. But what happens too is that the plants really know, especially weeds, is that the amount of glyphosate that's Roundup that's used now, double, triple, quadruple the amount, because the plants are getting used to it. They don't die anymore. And so they have to inundate it further. And where does it go? Like Bob says, it's in the air, it's in the water. It wafts over into the organic property there and things. And so what you bring, I think, is much more critical and widespread and important than you might think, because without your kind of leadership, people just don't know, because they're going to look at the lies on the CDC going, wow, it's safe. What does she know? She doesn't know anything. This is the CDC. They're looking after my best interest. Oh, hell. No, they're not.
No, they're paid off. The CDC board members own 50 vaccine patents. They benefit. They benefit from the vaccines. And we've sent the information to the CDC and the FDA showing that there are glyphosate residues in childhood vaccines, and they have completely ignored it. And they actually sent me back a year later. I asked for information about, the Freedom of Information Act for, glyphosate in vaccines. And they sent me back a couple hundred pages, and 50% of them were redacted, completely blacked out. They wouldn't show me what they were saying about it. So, we are, yes, we're committed to letting people know the truth, but we also want people to take action and see results. And I didn't mention when my little story about why I started Moms Across America, my kids were sick and they had autism symptoms, allergies, autoimmune issues, asthma, and they, had autoimmune issues. And once we removed GMOs from their diet, they started to get better. Once we went completely organic, one of my son's allergies levels went from a 19 down to a 0.2. They recovered their health issues. And my other son, we recovered his autism symptoms. He had a very bad bout of autism symptoms, that, very erratic behavior and grades dropping. And it was because his gut was messed up. He had gut dysbiosis and holes in his small intestines, and he was acting out because his brain was inflamed, because his gut was inflamed, right? There's the gut-brain connection. Sure. And so we sorted that out in 6 weeks. And we've saved hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on autism therapies and treatments and tests and chronic illness issues, hundreds of thousands a year. Over the past few years, right? Maybe 100,000 per year, 65,000 a year, something like that. We've saved that amount of money because we eat organic. And so we have seen results, direct results from people going to organic. I've gotten emails, handwritten letters saying, my children's symptoms are 80 or 90% improved since we've gone organic. And so we want people to take those actions. Try it. If you haven't gone organic yet, make that commitment. Clear out all the other junk in your pantry. Do not allow that stuff to be in your pantry, because you're a human being. If it's there, you'll eat it, right? So you got to get it out of your pantry and go and buy all organic. I know it's an investment, but you'll see actually that when you eat organic food, you don't need to eat as much. If you have a treat, some organic ice cream, you only need a little bit. Like you're not nutrition deprived. So you're not consuming vast amounts of food like you were before. So you'll save money because you're eating less and you're eating more nutritionally dense food, and you are not sick. So you're saving money from doctor bills, and you'll see an improvement in your behavior, your sleep pattern, all of that. And then in addition, you definitely need to get hardwired and reduce your exposure to EMFs as well. And you see the one thing I think that people, when they come back to me and say, we went organic, we've seen improvements, but he's not 100% yet. I think the missing thing is to get hardwired and to turn off that Wi-Fi in your house.
Wi-Fi,
yeah. I really believe that now, that you'll start seeing a major difference in your family's health.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, because like you were mentioning, and Bob mentioned it too, is that Wi-Fi, we all use that because it's so darn convenient. But even back when, it was never tested for safety, never.
Right.
And now, no, Bob was alive when I was a young child. But we had these dial-up telephones, and that was it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then but now everyone's got these basically hanging onto mini computers and holding them by their heads, and we wonder why one these a lot of the kids one can't learn, or why there's an increase in brain cancer and things like that, or we hold those devices in our pockets if you're a guy, and we just forget about those kind of things. So what you bring to the table is just education and just the awareness that things are different now than they were 30 years ago. They're just different.
Yeah,
okay?
They are. They're different.
Unless
Yes.
you reduce those toxins, you become toxic. So what you've proved with your family, especially, because you're looking at your kids going, wow, if you go see your family doctor, depending who they are, they're Western medicine trained. So he goes, hey Zen, why don't you give these guys these couple pills? Come check me out later. I said, well, that doesn't work. They're still toxic. You reduce the toxins in their bodies start working better like they were meant to. It's innate healing, and so
Yes.
you bring that, to the table, because it's we are so involved in drugs in this in our society, and vaccines one of them. And vaccines aren't proven either. And so if anyone just looked on the label and found out what was in these things and all the major things that can go wrong with you, they go, wow, I don't want that in my child. You drop a vial like that at the office, you got to call the CDC to get those guys with the hazmat suits to come by, because this is toxic waste. Mm-hmm. And if you're sitting in the waiting room, you're looking at this going, you're going to shoot that into my child? No, I got to go.
Yeah, I want to jump in and say, when they haven't been proven, you mean proven to be safe. And I just want to specify that there have been no saline placebo studies done with vaccine. None. The placebo that they used, the control group was another vaccine. Yeah. So most people don't know that. They think, oh, they've been highly tested, they've been proven safe. No, they've only been tested against other vaccines, and that's just like a lot of the glyphosate testing that Monsanto did, right? Or with GMOs, the animal chow, the rat feed was contaminated with glyphosate in most of those studies. So they were doing a study based on, looking for cancer, and both groups, the control group and the study group, had certain levels of cancer. So they're like, well, if they both have cancer, then this, glyphosate sprayed on the animal feed, intentionally does not show a significant difference. So if it doesn't show a significant difference, they call it safe. So it's very important to have a pure control group, to have a saline placebo for a vaccine. And they do not do that. They have not done that. In fact, I've asked the FDA for a group, for any study on that, especially concerning the HPV vaccine, and they have given me nothing. No. So, it's very important topic, and I appreciate you guys, covering this. You mentioned the cell phones in the pockets, and I just want to mention one study. This was told to me by a lawyer from Children's Health Defense, and their website is from this woman is wearetheevidence.org. And she said that there was a study showing on I believe it was dozens of men, and the group that did not put their cell phone in their pocket had 12% of their sperm was not viable. But the group that did consistently carry a cell phone in their pocket, 47% of their sperm was not viable. Ooh. And what they noticed too was that the sperm could, recreate, right? You could create more sperm, but the damage to the DNA did not recover.
Right.
And also there was a fertility clinic she shared that 10 years ago said that they had a viable sperm samples from 1 out of 10 men, but now it's 1 out of 100. We are wiping out the human race by exposing men to EMFs and also to glyphosate, right? Men and women are being impacted by glyphosate, by the toxins in our food supply, by atrazine, there's many other chemicals in the food supply. And so I believe, this is why people are rising up and they're taking action. And I really encourage everybody to take action in two major ways. One is to use your consumer purchasing power, right? And to get out there and purchase only the products that you need. Stop buying plastic junk and only purchase organic food as much as you possibly can, and be very mindful about purchasing recycled things instead of, like, if you need a new couch, please go to a Goodwill or go on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist and buy used things instead of new things. Use your consumer power, right? And then number two, I don't want to get too political here, but I've just got to say that if your candidate is being funded by big pharma, big ag, or big oil, they are not your candidate. They are already bought, and they are going to make decisions based on what's in the best interest of that corporation making a profit, not on your best interest. And so I would urge you to set aside your party affiliations. For me, this is not about a party. This is just about who is this candidate funded by, and to really put some thought into electing a candidate for president and for local office that will not take their marching orders from big pharma, big ag, big oil, or big tech. We've got to add 5G in there. And there are candidates that are pushing 5G, right? That are pushing GMOs, deregulating them, that are pushing toxic chemicals on our human population. And there are other candidates that are not. And so I really urge you to do your job to protect our freedoms across this country and elect somebody into office, regardless of your political party, based on whether or not that candidate is being funded, right, by these corporations.
No, thanks for bringing that up, because it's actually with when I think about Moms Across America and you and all the people in your organization and who you're affiliated with, this becomes political, because I think what we're talking about, survival of the species and the health of our children, and so where the politics are now, it's all bought and paid for and sold, and it's all for selfish gains. And whoever's lobby is bigger, or whatever you want to, whoever they get paid for is different. And then what Bob has come up with is something called the American Party. And what I like about that, his is just it's not politics. It's sensible relationships, and it's love first. It's just love first, because we forgot about that, because everything is now, it's the human condition is greed. What's in it for me? Screw you, and I don't care if you live or die as long as I get paid. And look at where our children are going, and you took a stand to give your children a life so they can go live to 100 and healthy, and then they can procreate.
I hope so.
Have many wonderful grandchildren. And so yours is education And like Bob, your comes from the heart, because you took a stand. And a lot of people, they can't do that anymore, because it's like, oh, someone else will do it, someone else will do it. I said, no, you have to dig your heels in, and you have to become an activist. You've got to do something about this, because everyone else, you can close your eyes and enough times and stick your head in the sand, but things are getting really to that point where a lot of this stuff is non-retractable, kind of like genie out of the bottle kind of deal. And so if someone's got it individually to take a stand, that's what you do. And exactly right, where you spend your dollar is important, because they may not listen to say, oh, this is killing my kids and all that. A lot of those folks don't care, and so, but if you spend your money someplace else, then they will care. And so, I really like that advice, and there is still power in the people. Now, going back to what Bob was saying and what you're saying, and I know that this is on the website, how can folks create organizations or groups within their communities or within their states? Can you explain that just a little bit, and how folks can do that?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm sorry, I have noise coming out of my phone, even though it's on airplane mode. Okay, so first of all, we encourage you to go to momsacrossamerica.org and sign up for our newsletter to get our alerts. And we will invite you every Monday, except next Monday, I'm traveling, but every Monday, traveling locally, by the way, but every Monday we have a Moms Connect call at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And you can come on from all across the country, and some people come from other countries as well, and connect, and we talk about the current issues and initiatives that we're working on. And you can ask questions, you can get coaching, you can share a win that you have in your area, so you can get connected directly with me and with other moms, and there's some dads on the call too that have been getting on these calls for a very long time. So that's sort of a first step in getting connected. And then we do encourage you to look up in your group. Right now, our major focus is on the Stop 5G initiative. And we ask you to look up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and meetup.com, and maybe even Nextdoor, and see if there are people in your area that are already working on this issue. And if they're not, we invite you to start a group. And we invite you to start a group with either one of these three names, either Stop 5G, Chicago, right? Like your city name. You want to have the words 5G in there, and you want to have the name the city name. But some people want to go a softer route, and so they're starting groups called like Citizens for Safe Technology, right? Like Laguna Niguel cities for Citizens for Safe Technology. So you can kind of rope in more people that way, and it's specific to the technology. We're also inviting people to start a group just called maybe Unstoppable Moms of Mission Viejo, or just Unstoppable Mission Viejo if you want to have it be unisex, so that it's clear that it's an activist group, right? And we have for the image of that Facebook group of an Unstoppable Moms of Mission Viejo, we have an image of a potluck with each little dish being labeled something different, like GMO-free, EMF-free, toxin-free, health freedom, right? All of these, and the tagline is bringing health advocates to the table. And so we invite people to start groups like that. It doesn't have to be one of these names that we're saying right now. Or it could be a Moms Across America group with your city name, whatever you want. But we ask you to start that group and start getting connected with people in your area. And then if you want to create an official chapter, email us at info@momsacrossamerica.org, and we'll send you some guidelines. We do have some guidelines for like how you can use our logo and some parameters and things like that. And we are a nonprofit, and if funds do need to be raised, in most cases that can happen, locally, you can do that locally. But we really support people to just take action locally, ask their local health food store if they need a donation of $50 or something, for snacks or food or for printing. You can do that locally and get those things done if you need to. But right now, what's important is to gather up, have a local event at a coffee shop or a playground or your house, and connect and organize people to take on this 5G, which means going to your city council meetings and speaking up. We have a great page now called Stop 5G under Action, and it has talking points that you can use to speak at your city council. It has a presentation that you can use if you want to, really promote fiber optics, underground fiber optics, and cables, public access cables. And and other ways that you can get involved is it's on that action page. So there's a lot you can do, and the best way to look about it is when people ask me how can I get involved, my invitation is to invite other people to get involved. That's how you can best get involved, by being someone who gathers other people together, and then you all take action together. And typically, historically, actually, the number of people that can make a huge difference in their town or even their country has been 6 people. 6 people, that's all it takes to sit down at the table, to brainstorm, to hash out who's going to do what, to have different roles, people do different things, and get that issue going forward. So you don't need, thousands of people in your town. You just need 6 people to get it going.
Well, no, thank you for that. I actually asked that question for me.
Great.
Well, no, as Bob knows, I get kind of heated sometimes when anything that's not promoting health, or if you're degrading health, especially in children and adults and all. Then I don't like this grade part, and money can be used a lot more wisely in different ways. And I do I teach people not to do this, but I do the name calling kind of thing, and because I get pissed. So thank you for that. Now I know better how to proceed. So now for you, and I think you had mentioned, I had read somewhere that has your husband joined you in
yeah.
that you're here and things, because I know he was an architect, or he was a business person.
He was a software IT guy for many years.
Okay.
Before he majored in English, so he has a writing background, very intelligent, and then he went into computer science. And he worked at some large companies for a while, and he lost his job 2 weeks after I put billboards up outside of Monsanto, criticizing, basically what Monsanto does, and asking the shareholders to invest in organic instead. And one of the company that he used to work at was a biotech company. One of their clients was Monsanto. And, so coincidentally, he lost his job 2 weeks after we did that, but it turned out to be the best thing ever for us, because he decided that my mission was his mission, and he got further training in search engine optimization, and he now has he's a consultant, and he has his own company called Organic Results, and he improves the website traffic and website usability for companies that he believes in, that support an organic lifestyle and a sustainable lifestyle. So he also is one of the major key people at Moms Across America. He's my tech person. He's my marketing guy, my website guru person, and so we work together 24/7 and from home, and we're able to be with our kids when we need to be. Yeah. And we work like dogs together. I have to tell you, I've never worked so hard in my life. And but we're making a lot of progress, and it's worth it. And we're learning something new every day. And my kids are also very supportive. They've marched in at least 5 or 6 parades, passed out thousands of flyers across the country. We've gone cross country 2.5 times. We've gone up the West Coast twice. We've done a lot of traveling. They've heard my talk probably dozens and dozens of times. And my son just recently did his own talk at our local church on the optimal diet. He's 17 years old. He wants to be a holistic doctor. And he did a talk about the organic, whole food, plant-based diet. I mean, he's even taken on something even bigger. I'm like, okay, listen, it's not so hard to convince people that GMOs and pesticides are not good for them, right? That just sounds icky. But to try to convince people not to eat meat, or cheese, that's a toughie. I'm like, good on you, because I'm not fully there. We've definitely reduced our consumption of meat and cheese, but my son is incredibly healthy, being a whole food, plant-based diet, person, and he's now doing talks about it. And so we have a lot of, support I have a lot of support in my local, area to do this. But what has been the most rewarding has been the connections worldwide, just seeing moms in Japan and New Zealand and China and, Maui and in Germany and different places like that say, you know what, we're dealing with the same thing, and we're all in this together. This is a global food supply, and we need to speak up. We need to protect our children, and we need to buy organic, and we need to let our elected officials know that, the gig is up on this. Yeah. And it is. These big corporations are moving away from these toxic chemicals. and they know that they can't get away for this for much longer. And there are 3 lawsuits out against the FCC regarding 4/5G, installation. They only have a few months left on one lawsuit, should be finalized in about 5 or 6 months. So our main ask for people is to delay any application approvals in your city until after these lawsuits are finalized, because the laws could change. The regulations and the restrictions and how far apart these poles could be, they could all change. So it doesn't make any sense to approve anything right now. Really, every single city should be waiting at least a year until any further approvals are done on these 4 or 5G poles. And the thing is, we don't need them. We have cell phone reception. We can text. We can download videos. We don't need better service on our cell phones right now. Most places across the country, look at the T-Mobile maps and the Verizon maps. They're lit up across the country. They've done their job. They've given us, we were able to make phone calls, so we don't need it now. And so I ask people to delay it.
Oh, that's wonderful. And like the FCC, they're probably the most corrupt of all. And then we all have these fiber optic tracks everywhere, but it's not used. And so, I like, what you're saying there. But for the bigger picture here, too, is what you describe is you're bettering, strengthening, the family unit. And we so need that in this country and worldwide, because there seems to be a going away from that. Yeah. And it seems that just families don't mean that much anymore. And so, what you've described here, with your husband getting in the fray here, and with all your kids directly involved, is that it creates better families, I think. And then it creates better futures, because, well, what a neat thing for a family actually to work together, as opposed to, hey, can I get the car and I'll see you in a couple of days kind of deal. And so what's going on, and that the caring, is genuine. And from there, that caring gets to be shared with the people they know, and from there, the people they know. And like I say, when you mentioned, those 6 people, there's this thing called the 6 degrees of separation. And then someone always knows somebody. And so when you spread that out, you're talking about millions of people. And that's how you create change. And that's what I see with you, and then Moms Across America, and this ideal that you've set, this standard that you've set. It's very, very hard standard, because a lot of folks just don't know that they don't know. And
yes.
they kind of muddle along in life. Well, I saw this on the news. Well, you know what the news is. You get truth from Bob Charles and Pyramid One, but when you look at the mainstream news, nobody talks about vaccines. Nobody talks about glyphosate. Nobody talks about pharmaceuticals, because that's where they get their money from.
Yes.
They're not going to decide you want to lose your job as a newscaster. Say bye. So you'll talk about everything else, and it doesn't matter if you carry that R or D on your label and all that. You're beholden to a higher power. And it doesn't matter, what the political, thing is. And it comes down to, greed, money, selfishness. And from there, what a lot of folks have not cared for other folks in a long time. And so with you and, just your closeness with your husband, and yes, please use all of his skills. And then, with your your children, you get to all work as a family. And I can't imagine, I've got 3 daughters myself, and can't imagine anything, more, one, gracious, and then humbling, and then just exciting, to do that. And then you actually teach people how to live. And so I think, with you and with the Moms Across America and what you do, I think it's much more, large and instructive and influencing than you think. So
thank you.
Thank you for all that, and and who you are.
Doctor, it's time that we
okay, I know. I could
stage
5 hours with you guys. So, but Zen, thank you so much, and then you've given me a lot of great information, and especially how to start up my own chapter here in Tacoma, Washington.
Tacoma, Washington. Great. There's a lot of activists in Tacoma. So, in Washington State. So there's people that you can also connect with that are already working on things. But
Thank you. So I asked that question for myself, so now I know. Great. But thank you very much. And then Bob, thanks again. Love this show. And can we have her back?
Wait a minute. Hold on. Zen, one thing.
Yes.
The doctor can start up a a group where he is.
Mm-hmm.
But Pyramid One is a platform. We go anywhere. Anyone, any place on this planet can hear us.
Yep.
We go below the hemisphere and the above as
Great.
far as we want. Our servers are on two ends of this earth. So we don't have any problems covering anything. And we can
Right.
also take 999 callers in.
Right.
So, I mean, if you guys want to do anything over here, just contact me. That's it.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
It'd be an honor to help you guys because you're doing the same thing we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to keep getting the word out. We appreciate shows like yours working with us to get the word out. And we really, encourage people to go to momsacrossamerica.org, click on home, sign up for our newsletter, go to action, get involved. And also, please do get my book. It's on Amazon, and it's called Unstoppable, Transforming Sickness and Struggle into Triumph, Empowerment, and a Celebration of Community. And my podcast is called Unstoppable with Zen Honeycutt. So thank you very much for having me on your show today.
And everybody, there will be a YouTube copy of this tomorrow. It'll be in our channel. So everybody will see it. Thank you very much. You both awesome.
Thank you.
All righty. Doctor, till the next time.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
Yeah.
God bless y'all. Bob Charles.